All right, I've continued to try to work on these my plasma table to just hone in on this, cutting edge. This is 3/16 material, and you see those ripples. And the thing you always notice is that they're really consistent. They're like, and the ripples and the changes in things are basically the end of the torch moving. Wherever it moves, it puts a line, and so it seems to be more pronounced when both servos, or stepper motors in my case, are moving at the same time. On a straight cut where just one is moving, it's a little less noticeable, but on a radius you can really see those, especially at certain points. Like I was noticing on these round cutouts, I don't know if I can, if you can see that just sort of rippling. This is 16 gauge. And then in some other areas you don't hardly see it at all. It gets a pretty smooth edge. And then it was just like in certain corners, where it would really, I don't know, when it's cutting out a circle, there's points and times in the circle where you would think that it would be, both servos would be moving consistently, but I don't know how it works, but it's not. But anyway, so I've taken, I've got the covers off the drive systems on both sides, and just was checking things out, and I wanted to re-square the gantry up, so I'm working on that. But I've got the and just kind of the way it works is it's got one stepper on this side, and this is, by the way, a really inexpensive servo, or stepper I should say, that they've got on here. I looked up the part number and it's $59. This is a $10,000 table, which it is an entry-level table, and I get that, but I hate to know that the main drive on this thing, the main, to me, one of the heartbeats of it is one of the cheapest components on it. So anyway, the thing that I noticed is that I've got the belts off of it that actually drive down to the chains. So you see the servo or stepper here has got this pulley, and then it comes up and drives this pulley, which there's a shaft internally that, so this one's set up in a slave configuration. And then it also drives this one down here that drives the chains. I've got the chain unhooked right now. But the one thing that, if you just roll this pulley here, even with the chains on it, it's smooth. You don't really feel any vibration or any notching or anything. And because this is a stepper, and I don't know if how many of you guys have ever felt a stepper in your hand and just twisted the shaft on it coming out of the motor, but you feel the steps. You can very specifically feel the steps. And so I was just over here, messing around with this, and I don't know if you'll be able to see it or not, but so I'm putting constant pressure on it, and you can just feel those individual steps as it's turning. And this is echoed all the way through the shaft because the stepper motor is over there. If I were to disconnect the belt from the stepper over there, I'm thinking that this would turn smoothly. And I may do that here in a second, but disconnecting the belt from the steppers, I guess you gotta take the stepper loose or something. I'm not sure, because there's no tension on the, let me look at it on this side. So there's the pulley for the stepper and going across to the shaft. And, just if I pull that, you can feel the individual steps in the motor. So I am, John Saunders has been talking about for quite a while the clear path servos, at least for a year, and he's tested them out on a few different things. And these JD squared tables that those guys are selling now, that John just bought, and then also Retro Weld has one on order as well, have those clear path servos. So this servo, or this stepper, is $59, and you compare that to the clear path servo, I don't know that it's a true servo. They call it a, step and drive. It's called the Servo Killer. But compare that to what they sell for $400. I mean, it's a huge, huge change, huge change in price. So I'm looking at to upgrade this table, to upgrade both of that might be a NEMA 23, so it may be a little cheaper to do that one. I haven't looked at it yet, but this is a NEMA 34 footprint. And I would assume it'll fit. The bolt pattern and all should be the same. It should bolt up, and then there's some videos on how to make it work with mock and some changes that you need to do. So I mean, it's not a bolt-in upgrade. There are some things that need to be done to calibrate it and make it work properly. So I want to research all that and get all that figured out before I order them, and for sure before I start, trying to put them in place, because I can't have the table down, because this is, one of my main ways of making money. Anyway, and you can see that I definitely need to do some maintenance on this table. The slats are getting pretty worn. I don't know how long you guys, I've had the table for 6 months now. It's not a high production machine. It probably gets used a couple times a week. It's not like it's running every day, all day. But you can see those slats are getting cut down and sort of getting uneven, and plates, things don't really sit that level on them, because it's just, they've got, and I will take a grinder to it every now and then and kind of level off some of them where they're sticking up, and then knock these little things off. But the one thing, a couple guys recommended putting borax in the water, and that's made a huge difference in the water that comes out on the floor. Doesn't stain black near as bad. And I think it'll help too with the water that gets splashed up on the stuff here, won't stain things as bad. So, anyway, I know EcoMouse has been on me about getting some kind of solution to put in here that should help even more, but I just haven't done that. Anyway, I've got to go get some 1/4-inch steel today, and we've got a table kit, one of the bolt together ones that I need to cut out. So I'm going to go ahead and just cut 2 kits out of that. And I'll be cutting some gussets out of it, some of those web gussets too, to fill one order I got for those so far. But I wanted to try to, work on this a little bit today. I just continue to be, frustrated with some of the activity on it and some of the things that happen with it. And I just want to try to continue to get it dialed in and make it run as good as it can run. And then, so after I do the servo upgrade on it, I've also been looking at, I called the maker of the table, and they said, no, you can't upgrade. We don't offer an upgrade to convert this table to rack and pinion drive. And he said, you can't. And I'm like, well, you can upgrade anything to anything if you really want to. I don't really see why this table couldn't be upgraded to rack and pinion. Now, will it require some fabrication? Will some of this stuff have to be taken off of it? Yeah, definitely so. But the rack and pinion drive doesn't look that expensive. The stock, the rack stock doesn't look terribly expensive. Probably for a couple $200, $300 in parts, I can get this upgraded to rack and pinion. But I really, the chain drive might work for me if I can get, if the servo upgrades take care of that, this notching that you feel when you turn the pulley, So, all right, guys, that's enough rambling. I'll bring you back when I get to cutting here a little bit later. I'm going to get this gantry squared back up and chains hooked back up and get it running again, and go get some steel and get to work. All right, this is the procedure to square the gantry. Basically lay a drywall square down and get it butted up against the end of the table. You can see we're on 24 and 3/16 there. I just have a straight edge drop down. I got one on this side as well. And then I've got this side clamped, and the tensioner tight on it on the drive motor. And then on this side, I have the tensioner loose, and you can skip a tooth and move this forward or back to get it where you want it. So I have it now, both sides are at 24 and 3/16. And it's just an arbitrary position. You can put it anywhere on the table, you know, generally to one end, so you can get a tape, you know, get a straight edge on it there with a. So it says this is getting it really close this way, and then later in the documentation it calls about cutting out a large square and I guess taking some measurements on that square, but I never saw that anywhere else in the documentation. I never did it before, so I need to call and ask him about that for sure. And it says that every other tooth on this top pulley here is 1/8 of an inch. So if you skip a tooth, you're moving it 1/16 of an inch. Or if you go every tooth, it's a 1/16 of an inch. If you skip a tooth, it's 1/8 of an inch. So anyway, I need to call him and ask him about fine tuning that. What, you know, and I'm guessing that if you get it to 1/16 of an inch, that should be pretty good. But I guess if it's off 1/16 of an inch on either side, that's over some length on the table, it could be off. Whatever it is you're cutting could be off by as much as 1/16 of an inch. So I do get some little anomalies and variations in things that I've cut. Like I've noticed that the kits that I cut of these, where the holes are in it, and then when I drill the holes in the blocks using a stop block, that those should be pretty accurate. And then sometimes they don't exactly line up with the spacing here. But I've also, this is 3/16, and it was, I believe, sheared off of a roll, and it looked like it had a cup to it. And then the more I cut it, you know, it sort of wanted to heat up as well. You know, and the more you kind of get bow in it, you know, and then later when you bolt it together and flatten it out, well, your holes aren't, you know, it's not going to put the holes in the same place if it's a little cupped in some parts of the table and others. So there are definitely some variables here about all this stuff, and a little bit here and a little bit off there, and the metal warping a little bit. I mean, and all of a sudden you know, things are off. And that, I was showing this yesterday. I don't know where I put it now on that King's Disaster thing, how that one key slot got burned off the edge of the table. But anyway, so I gotta go ahead and get all this bolted back together and go get some steel, because I think I got it good enough for now. I do need to call them about doing the final tweaking on it. How do you get it closer than 1/16 of an inch if it's off 1/16 of an inch? So yeah. All right, guys, I will let you go. Talk to you soon. All right, we got this one going to longtime viewer Jerry Sheets from the old Garage Gang days. And he's now Jerry's this and that, and he's doing Fusion 360 and all kinds of fun stuff. Only problem is he lives in Canada, so I got to take this and get this shipped. I can ship it via the post office, print it off my system here. It came up with the best option was $62, I think, to go to Alberta from Texas, and it's a metal bender kit. So I'm going to take it to Office Depot. They can do FedEx and UPS, USPS, I think maybe DHL or one other one, and so we'll see if they can get us a better deal. All right, so we'll go see if we can get a better deal on that for Jerry and go get some steel. Yeah, I got a nasty truck for sure. How about that windshield? All right, guys, I'll bring you back in a little while once I get to the steel place. All right, just ran through the car wash real quick, got the windshield cleaned up, give this old girl a bath. We're here at the steel yard. and I'm gonna get a 1/4 inch sheet of 4x8 and a stick of 3/4 inch by 4 flat bar to make this kit out of. It'll be enough to make 2 kits actually, but I only got an order for 1 right now. But I'm gonna go ahead and cut everything for 2, and that way when the next order comes in, I'll have what I need. These guys, their prices are decent. Problem is they just never seem to have what I'm looking for half the time. Like, I need some 1/4 inch by 1.5 inch flat bar, and they don't have it and are not gonna get it. So I gotta go somewhere else to get it. They got a bunch of flat bars right here that are partial sticks and sheets on the inside, but we'll show you as they're loading stuff up here. All right, I didn't film anymore at the place, but they were busy and a bunch of people started coming in, so I didn't film anymore. Anyway, I was looking for my receipt for this 1/4 inch stuff here. I was going to show you the pricing on it, but basically they wrote it up as $189, which is quite a bit more than I have paid for it. And he said, well, that's my replacement cost. In other words, what I got to pay to replace it with that's what it's going to cost me. I don't sell enough sheets here to buy a full truckload, and the prices keep going up, so yada yada yada. So I called the place up in Denton that I used to get all my stuff from, and I knew they were quite a bit cheaper, so I called and they said $148 is what they charge for 1/4 inch. So I told the guy that, and he matched it. He gave it to me for $150. So anyway, these kits, I'm going to cut 2 of them out of this. I'm going to work on the CAD and redo the CAD to include the cuts to break up the material, to cut all the gussets out, the washers out, everything in CAD, and then I'll have some little small cuts that'll come back and cut the section so it'll come apart on the table. You've heard me complaining about that, and I've just not taken the time to do it. I'm gonna do that today. So I'll bring you back once I get the table running. I'm not gonna show you unloading it and all that. You guys have seen me do that with the gantry crane and the magnet there. So I will come back once we get going on the table there. All right, well, finished up a huge job here. Cut 2 table kits out, and you can see all kinds of gussets and stuff. Let me show you all the nesting that was on that program. I did it in 2 batches because let's see if I can just open it. Yeah, that was the job there. And 1/4 inch is the maximum for 45 amp tip. I don't have any 65 amp tips. I've got some 85 amp tips, and on a lot of this little small detail stuff, I just figured 85 amps might be a little much. So I ran it on 45 amps. I'm thinking it took about 4, maybe even 5 hours to cut all that out. But I don't know how much it took because I stopped it, or it stopped halfway through, and I didn't start it back for a good little while. And I got 2 030 error messages while I was cutting, which I get those occasionally on the plasma cutter, or something to do with the tip or whatever. Usually if I take the tip out and clean it and put it back in, it'll start running again. But I've gotten it where I can recover from those failures pretty quickly and easily now. So it is, let's see what time it is. 9:24 p.m. And I started this morning at about 6. Well, I got up at 6. I was out here by 6:30 or so. And yep. So we got a lot done. Bought this material, redid all the cam and CAD work to get all this nesting done, and we got a bunch of stuff, out of this. And there's still more. I want to come back and nest a few more things in those squares right there. I want to come back and nip those out, but I got another job I got to get on the table and get done and knocked out tomorrow. So I may just manually cut this one, rip cut it here and there just to get it off the table, and then the next time I get a full sheet on, I'll do a little more nesting on it. But EcoMouse sent me some really cool designs, different variations. You see the ones with the round there, and a skull one there. I got a couple of them, and then a couple of different flame ones, one with a negative and one with a positive. So a positive flame there and a negative one there. and the skull that you saw. And then Shut Your Face Garage, I told him he needed some of these for his rat rod project. He said it would look cool if it was countersunk. Want to know, could I do that? And of course I can do that. I didn't do that one because the top one, because I would need to put a bigger countersink in, and the only larger ones I have are high-speed steel, and I was afraid that those hardened edges might mess up that high-speed steel. But I have a carbide one that's a little smaller that I use there. It didn't seem to have any problem with it, and so he liked it and went ahead and placed an order for 500 of them. So I'm just waiting on him to send the money. So Matt, if you're watching this, go ahead and send me that money, okay? All right, guys. Long day. See ya.